What has been the level of interest E.ON has experienced since the UK started the feed-in tariff in the UK? Obviously, this started in April of this year.
Yeah, well, as you say, the feed-in tariff was announced in April this year. We'd been aware that it was going to happen for some time, clearly, although we weren't quite sure what the levels were until I think it was the beginning of February when the government actually announced the levels. So we've been planning to launch a PV offering to align with that. And we actually launched our first proposition, which we call our Energy Saver, and that was in early April to meet the timescale for the feed-in tariffs. And we took a very cautious approach. We weren't quite sure what the response would be, but we have been, shall I say, overwhelmed. We've been, in some cases, unable to keep up with the demand.
Really?
So we've got teams of surveyors out visiting properties. Clearly, there's quite a cycle to how long it takes from a first inquiry, but certainly the level of interest, the number of inquiries, the number of surveys is very encouraging.
Now, obviously, you said you thought of taking a conservative, approach to this, and obviously now with this strong demand, have you revised your sort of installation figures for the year now that now you're seeing a bit more of the picture?
I think it's still a bit early to say what the ultimate level is going to be. But what we have done is to partner with experienced players in the market to sort of leverage their ability to deliver the actual installations. We did already have a business in micro-renewables, which was established to meet our contract under the Low Carbon Buildings Programme. So we were already selling biomass heat pumps, micro-wind, PV, solar thermal and so on. But that was aimed at the business-to-business sector. So we did have an established capability there. But I guess the challenge is trying to convert that from sort of the large contracts to the individual householder. And I think that will be a challenge for us, one which we're aiming to meet. But I think, yeah, as I say, it's been very encouraging to see the level of response, and we are gearing up to meet that at the moment.
Are you finding that it's the key hurdle then just simply lack of installers, or is it salespeople or advisory staff? What seems to be the hurdle? The challenges with the demand, as you say, being pretty overwhelming.
I think all of the above. I think probably the biggest obstacle in terms of sort of consumer acceptability is going to be cost. I mentioned that earlier, that the costs in the UK today are higher, significantly higher than they are in mainland Europe, for a variety of reasons. But I think one of the reasons has been that the market's been dominated by what we might call the cottage industry. It's been small niche players, and E.ON's interest is in a mass market. We are a significant sized energy company. We have 8.5 million customer accounts for electricity and gas, and we want to leverage that access to the market. And clearly our interest then is exploiting that to offer the mass market propositions to as many people as possible, rather than trying to operate in niches. And I hope that what we'll be able to do is to, through the scale that we can deliver, to reduce the costs and therefore offer sort of value propositions to customers.
Does that mean still reliant on, say, distributors and installers, or are you thinking, that with your purchasing power, that you may have, direct deals with major module manufacturers, major inverter manufacturers, or are you trying to keep out of being that closely integrated?
I think initially we've been quite cautious. We are working with established contractors who know the market, who have access to products. But clearly the value at the different levels of the value chain exists in both the procurement of the product and the installation and the marketing. So I think ultimately we would like to look at ways of increasing our share of the value chain. Having said that, I think that it would be somewhat arrogant to assume that just because we decided to play in the UK market, that the scale that we achieve there would deliver huge economies in terms of purchasing power, because the UK market is still going to be a very small market compared with the global market for some time. So that I think it's more a matter of getting reputable suppliers on board that can offer us value, rather than necessarily assuming that we can undercut the competition just by being a lower cost provider, which doesn't really align with the brand anyway, which is as a quality provider of reliable products and services.
You mentioned there obviously that the UK market has to develop. It's obviously looking at the global level, or even Germany, for instance. I mean, we've got the same kind of solar radiance, the geopolitical side, the population side, from a wealth perspective, all very, very similar. Do you expect the UK market to develop along the lines of the German market?
I guess it would be a brave man who said anything in Britain would be like it is in Germany, but I have my doubts. I think that the North European, Scandinavians and Germans have always been more alert to environmental issues. Now, that may be changing, but certainly at the moment, the German and Scandinavian consumers tend to be much more aware in terms of recycling, energy efficiency, construction, all those kind of areas. And I think although we're endeavouring to catch up on them, I think that we're going to face some different challenges. At this stage, I don't know what they are, but certainly I don't assume that it's going to be exactly the same as the German uptake rates at the moment.